Hi guys, welcome back. This is Creativity Inc. and my name is Diana. Welcome back to my cave. Well, today's a field trip kind of edition. Um, we're on our way to Sequoia. We started on San Diego, then we went up the route all the way. For us, it was like a 6-hour drive, but I'm going to be showing you guys where we went and some of the journaling that I did through the course. And our first stop as we got there was Three Rivers. Three Rivers is a town right before you hit the Sequoia National Park. It is a beautiful river, but we went in May, so it was still pretty cold. It was still snow in the mountains. So the next day that we woke up, the river had risen a foot in water just from the overnight melting, and it was still freezing, but the weather itself was pretty hot. So it kind of balanced it out. The kids were in the river all day long, and it was a nice it was a nice idea to stay here just so that the next day we can go to the Sequoia National Park well rested without having to drive like hours and hours right before we get here. So we're rested. We had breakfast the next morning, and we had lunch. So I think that with traveling with kids is a good idea to kind of stay close by and then really head to the destination the day before. For the next day, just because there wasn't like, we weren't like fed up of driving, or we were like rested. So I feel it was a good idea. So this day I journaled about that day, and also what I did is I wanted to kind of freeze in moment what the kids were during this time. So what I did is I traced their hands and I made them write their own name on there, so that it's other than a picture of, in my way of freezing this time in this travel period or I don't know, journey that we went on. The place where we stayed at, it was called Sequoia Campground and Lodge. It is in Three Rivers, but it's called that. But that was all we did the first day. The next day we kept on 190 and the Road 198, and then we hit our first entrance, where there's one entrance on the top and one entrance on the bottom of the road, and you can immediately see the difference. And as we got up to the mountain, we went to Hospital Rock. That was our first stop. There I collected some dirt because I noticed it was extremely black. And then we visited the rock. There I also drew these hieroglyphs on my journal, and then we head on the road again, which was Grant Forest Museum. It's a beautiful place. It's a store, it's a shop, and also a museum. To get the impression of one of the redwood trees, I grabbed a piece of paper and a charcoal from the last night's fire, and it worked out great. After that, from that location you can either hike up to the tree or drive up to the tree. The tree was phenomenal. We decided to hike up to the tree. From there you can continue on the road, and it takes a while to drive up, but we drove around to the wrong side of the street. We drove up from the 90, and then we were trying to hit the Hume Lake, but instead of going the shortcut, as you guys can see, there's a shorter side. We went the circular, the one that went round and round the way, and we went all the way around. It wasn't that pleasing to go, but we went. We stayed at the Azalea campground. It's not a reservation campground. It's first come, first serve basis. It was only $18 to stay the night. It was definitely worth it. The sunset and the sunset the sunset and the sunrise, sorry, they were phenomenal. It was freezing cold because it was higher up in the mountains. And like I mentioned before, it was still snow somewhere. You would still drive around and there was snow off the side of the roads. And we were kind of not prepared for snow. I was prepared for cold weather, but I was not prepared for snowish kind of weather. So we were kind of cold overnight, but my husband, graciously enough, kept the fire on all night long, and that kept us kind of warm. So I grabbed some of that dirt that I saw on the ground, and I mixed it up with the glue, sort of like a glaze thing that I did here. I know it looks kind of mucky, but then I also wanted it to have that texture. I'm hoping that it looks really good. The dirt was just amazing. It was blackish, brownish. It was really a deep, nice deep brown. So I wanted to grab some of that. I have a coin that was pressed on that museum that we first went into today, and I pressed it on there. I'm hoping it stays there. I'm really doubting it. So maybe when I get home, I will put it down some more in some kind of form. There was everywhere you see there was these little barks with moss on there. So I picked up one of them and I just decided to decorate it around my coin with those moss pieces. When I get home, I wanna maybe put some hairspray on this moss so that it stays there and it hardens. I've used hairspray before on some of my leaves, and it works great. So I grabbed one of those postmarks, yeah, and I also got me a fire permit so I could turn on a fire on the side of the road if I wanted to camp out. So between Sequoia National Park and Kings Canyon, which we will go there, you guys will see later in the video, there's an area where it's not a national forest, it's just a forest. So you can technically camp wherever you want within 15 feet of the road. So they teach you how to turn off a fire, and they give you a permit so that you can do a fire yourself. But it's kind of like a little mini lesson that you have to attend to. It's like 10-15 minutes long, so I took it. Not because I was going to camp on the side of the road, which kind of our intention was at the beginning, but we have 2 little kids and sometimes the roads are not safe. You have bears, and then you also have people that, they're kind of like living off grid here. So I just wanted to be safe, and we stayed at the camp. But I did wanted to get that fire permit just to be safe, on the safe side. So if you guys remember, I have that mark or that impression of the tree, and I wanted to use a quote along with this. It's a quote by John Muir. John Muir was a mountaineer, a naturalist, and an activist, and many more titles. He is known as a father of the national park. His activism helped preserve the Yosemite Valley and Sequoia National Parks. Muir helped push for U.S. Congress to pass a bill in 1890 to establish the Yosemite National Park. He was traveling through the mountains, and he noticed how many trees were being cut and how he saw the beauty in these. So he worked really hard to preserve that as something that the humanity should always have. And the quote reads, "The snow melts into music, and in between every 2 trees is a door leading to a new life. The only way to experience this place is to step through that door yourself." I loved it, so I typed it before we came here, and I knew I was going to want to use it somewhere. And this was the day that I typed it. I guess it was my first experience with the sequoias and the national park, and so I used it here. Also, at the museum, they have stamps, so explorer stamps. I stamped it on this side. If you guys can see, it's a little blurry. And one of the things that I didn't regret not doing was to also stamp my kind of like carry-on of my art stuff, the cover of it. So I wish I would have thought about it and stamped the outside as well. So it has like a badge of all the places that I'm going to take this trouble buddy with. At the entrance of the parks, they give you a map with all the road and the stops you can make along the way. What I did for this particular day is I cut out the section of all the stops we did for day 2, and I put it here on this page. If you like history and learning about people, I would highly suggest you guys look up who John Muir was. He's an awesome person that helped established these Sequoia National Parks. And he's also a writer, so his writings are very beautiful. He's like a poet in his writings. So the 2 quotes that I have used in this journal come from the book 1912. And he's a person, he led Teddy Roosevelt through a journey on this Sequoia National Parks. And he's a very interesting man, so if you're interested, I would suggest you look him up. He has there's a couple books, and also there's a lot of videos about him in the YouTube world. As you guys can see on the left side of the page, this layout, I drew the hieroglyphics that were on a hospital rock. They are very interesting. I don't know what each of the like drawings mean. I wish it did, because it said like a little story. That place where the hospital rock was, there's also evidence of like people living there. There's like a little kitchen where they would grind up grains and stuff like that. It was like by the river. It was a very interesting spot. We stayed there a couple hours. We also had dinner there. I mean, not dinner, lunch there. My husband made some beautiful, amazing ribs, and it was awesome. I really suggest you maybe stopping here and enjoying, the kitchen and kind of eating there where, our ancestors used to eat as well. It was interesting. The kids really enjoyed it, and I journaled a little bit about it here in this page. On day 3, we went up from our campground to the little visitor center. This is a museum from the Grant tree, and this is like a little village. It was beautiful. This was my favorite place. There was a restaurant, there was a market, there was a tree stump that I laid my daughter on. There was many things, and I learned that these pine cones are actually not from the giant trees. It's the little one. It was pretty funny. Anyways, we went up the road to the 180, where we stopped at Boyden Cave Road. But along the way, man, I can see why this is Kings Canyon. Once you get out of that circle loop, it's called Kings Canyon Park. And in the middle of literally nowhere, there's this old gas station that actually they pump gas from those gas stations. Of course, we had to get gas. It's quite expensive, but it was worth it. So this was my son's actual birthday, and he was thrilled that I got to take him on a cave. He's a very intellectual kid. He likes to learn about science and all these things, so he was excited. We got to tour the cave, and after that we headed up to where the road ends. It was a 180. So in between the road, the Boyden Cave, and the end, there was an area called Grizzly Falls. It's a beautiful place. It's a waterfall. It was very interesting. At the end there was this lodge, but it was closed. I don't know, because of the season that wasn't open yet, or because of COVID. After we hit the end, we decided to go home. On our way home from Sequoia to our home in San Diego, there's a little a viewpoint where you could stop and feed the squirrels and birds. So we were there for like 2 hours before we got home. So in reality, we wish we could have seen like more animals out in Sequoia, but we got to see the butt of a deer like from far away, and that was it. I mean, not that you wish to see a bear, but you kind of want to wish to see a bear. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to be close enough to it, but you kind of want to see it from away. Coming home, this is me showing you guys the journal. Taking it back, I'm going to a couple of things that I learned from this little Art Caddy thing that I did. I want to coat it on the outside, like wax coat it, just so it doesn't get dirty or wet, because it got wet a couple times when I was setting it on the table. And I learned something else, but if I remember, I'll let you guys know. Anyway, so this was my journaling. I didn't get to record all of it, as you guys can imagine. It was kind of like chaotic to be with 2 kids and trying to travel in the car and go everywhere at the same time and journal. But this is the page you guys didn't get to see me journal. This was Kings Canyon. I grabbed my watercolors and I tried to do some canyons, but it was crazy. I grabbed another map that was given to us, and I put it behind. Behind this postcard, and I put another quote of John Muir there. The quote reads, "Everybody needs beauty as well as great places to play in and pray in, where nature may heal and give you strength to body and soul alike." Day 3, we celebrated at the General Grant place, and it was actually my son's birthday that day. We went to the boating cave too, and I got him a cupcake at the store, and we all sang happy birthday. Everybody that was sitting there joined us in singing to him happy birthday, so it was a pretty special day. I also journaled our way back. I grabbed a rock and I glued it on. Remember, you guys, I took a little lid from one of the spices that I had in the kitchen that was like an empty one. So it was a hard rock, so I liked it a lot, and I kept it. And this was just like a little piece of the catalog where the map was, and I glued it there. And as you guys can see, everything I brought back, and it was awesome. I really enjoyed it. I really highly suggest you try doing this. It drives you a little crazy trying to get the time to do things, but when you get down to doing it, it was all worth it. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for subscribing, and thank you guys for liking my videos. It does help let other people know that I'm here. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you again, and have a good day. Bye.